My mom disowned me over our move, all because I didn't help her way. Now she wants me to take her neglected cats. Should I apologize? At the end of December, my mom and I were both moving out of our home because our lease was up. She was moving into my grandparents' basement, and my boyfriend, 20M, and I were moving into our first apartment together. My mother has diagnosed BPD. For context, my mom and I have a very strained relationship. She has always been controlling, and I feel like she has been especially harsh with me because I remind her of my dad. Their divorce was messy, and she often pitted my brother and me against him. It took me a long time to realize how much of her anger toward him was taken out on us. My relationship with my dad was rocky for years, but after everything that happened with the military, which I'll explain below, we started to bond since he served. I agreed that I would take the last of my things out of the house and then come back to help my mom clean. My new apartment was just down the street, so it wouldn't have taken long. But when I was taking my things over, my mom started freaking out, demanding to know why I was leaving and not helping her. She wouldn't let me explain that I was coming right back. Instead, she told me she was done with me and that she never wanted to see me again. At that point, I was tired of being yelled at, so I left without saying another word, and I never went back. We haven't spoken since the day after Christmas. Any communication has only been through my grandma passing along messages when I talk to her. My grandma has been pressuring me to apologize, but my mom hasn't apologized once for anything she put me through. This wasn't an isolated incident. My mom has a long history of controlling and manipulative behavior. The biggest example is when she pretended to be me while texting a recruiter and pressured me into joining the military. A week into training, I was placed in an Army psych ward, and when I called my mom from there, she told me it would be best if I didn't come back home. I got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder there and was prescribed Prozac, same as both of my parents. I was officially discharged 2 weeks later due to erroneous entry. My dad, on the other hand, told me that I could stay with him when I got out. Since I had nowhere to go, my dad let me stay with him for a month, which was the most time I had spent with him in years. We actually started to repair our relationship because we finally had something to bond over. And as much as I vented to him about my mom, he never had anything negative to say to me about her. Had been attending a lot of therapy of his own and was just diagnosed on the spectrum. After that, I moved to another state for a few months to live with my boyfriend's family before eventually coming back to my home state. Things between my mom and me had been tense ever since I returned. My brother and I were also on bad terms for a while after the move, but we later apologized to each other. He admitted that our mom had been taking her anger out on him, and he redirected some of it onto me so she wouldn't focus on him as much. On top of everything else, my mom has been struggling with her mental health and neglecting her cats, leaving all the care to my grandma, who has her own things to worry about since she's been caring for my grandpa, who has late-stage lung cancer. Now my mom is saying she wants to give the cats to my brother and me because she can't handle them anymore. This has made me wonder if I should just apologize for the sake of keeping the peace, even if I don't mean it. She's not mentally well at all and grew up with a lot of stress, but it's also hard for me to really be sympathetic of that since she made my upbringing similar. Am I being too cold? Given all of this, I feel like I made the right choice for my own well-being by not going back. But part of me wonders if I was too harsh for leaving her to handle everything alone and if I should apologize now for the sake of the cats. They're more important to me than anything because they are my childhood cats. I bottle-fed all of them, and 2 of the 4 had always been mine in the first place. One of my cats also has health issues, and I want to be sure he's getting the proper care. I booked an appointment with a therapist to talk about all this as well as get an ESA letter, but it's not for a few days. I really just want outside input from a broader audience and figure out what the best course of action would be. TLDR, my controlling mom disowned me during our move after I planned to help, but didn't do it on her terms. She previously pressured me into the military by pretending to be me and has taken her anger out on me for years. Now, my grandma wants me to apologize, even though my mom hasn't, since my mom is giving my brother and me her neglected cats. Edit. Other relevant info. My brother and I spoke and both agree that she had been taking her anger out on my boyfriend and I due to being upset about her own love life. She went through several boyfriends last year. She spent all of November and December trying to convince me to break up with my boyfriend, and my boyfriend believes that she might have been trying to sabotage our relationship by hitting on him, which is a whole other issue of its own.